Hi everybody, Mindy Garrett here, owner of Mind and Body Elite, and I am in my Jeep today because I threw my back out yesterday. Yes, it happens. And so I had to rush down to the chiropractor this morning because they are leaving town, and I wanted to get in and get the last appointment that they had so that I can be healthy, move easily without pain, and do what I need to do. So the lighting's a little wonky, a little bit of traffic noise because I just left my appointment. So hopefully we keep our signal and we're able to chat about today's topic because I have had it prepared all week, excited to talk to you guys about it. So here's a question I get asked a lot. You guys probably saw the notes in today's topic. As a health coach and fitness trainer, one of the top questions I get asked by clients, especially after they've been working with me for 4 weeks or 8 weeks and sometimes even 12 weeks, is, what am I doing wrong because the scale isn't moving? And they're feeling frustrated because they thought that, gosh, after 4 weeks they would have this momentous moment of, significant weight loss or huge gains in some area that they were working towards. And so when they're not feeling like that's happening as fast as they thought it would, and yet they feel like, I've made all these changes, so why am I not seeing results faster? I feel like there's some common pitfalls that I have to bring to my clients' attention and say, okay, let's shed the light a little bit and ask some tough questions and say, are one of these things not quietly in sync? Because often if we're doing everything right, unless there's a medical condition underlying that's challenging us to achieve that weight loss or fat loss, then we should start seeing some result pretty early on. I mean, it's not instantaneous and it does take time and effort to get there for sure. But when I'm talking to my clients and I'm saying, gosh, tell me what you're doing. Tell me what your week habits are like. And for my health coaching clients, we go back and revisit their previous coaching sessions notes. It's like, are all of these things happening? And if they are, then I might refer them to a physician and say, okay, let's get our thyroid checked. Let's see where things are standing because maybe there's something that's preventing us from getting that momentum moving in our direction. But 9 times out of 10, I've actually never had it happen. So far it's been 10 out of 10 for me. But so far there is something in these 7 things that just isn't happening. And when we have to break it down and be honest with ourselves, we realize, yeah, I'm not quite doing everything I'm thinking I'm doing, and that's why this isn't happening. So we have to be honest with ourselves and say, why isn't this happening? Why isn't this happening? Because we're not quite getting that formula right. We're not quite committing all the way. And so there's something that's holding us back from achieving our goals. So let's talk about what those 7 things are. And I hope that this helps shed a little bit of light for you. If you feel like I am struggling with this, why am I not losing the weight that I thought that I would? Why is the scale not moving? I feel like I've made these healthy changes. So why is it not happening for me? So the number one thing is consistency. Okay. And this is something I'm going to harp on time and time again because there's 7 days in a week. 7 days. And if we are doing something 2 days out of the week, 3 days out of the week, it's not enough. And we have to be doing it consistently, because if 1 week I'm really great 5 days out of that week, and the next week I'm really great 2, and then the next week I'm really great 5 days out of the week, and then the next week I'm only great 3, it's not enough for the body to establish a new set normal. If you've been rocking a set normal of 180 pounds for months and months and years even, you can't expect the body to pick up the significant change for you in just a couple of weeks when the actions are not consistent. They have to be consistent. Now, I'm not telling you you have to do an exact perfect formula 7 days out of the week, but what I am saying is it has to happen more often than not. And it has to be consistent. So when I first start with my client, if they have not been doing a lot of things, right? Like maybe they need to change their diet. Maybe they need to add exercise. Maybe they need to change the type of exercise they're doing. Like, in other words, they're not working out in their target zone. Okay, if there's a lot of significant changes that need to happen, I'm not going to say, hey, so-and-so who hasn't done this forever, why don't you go ahead and start working out 6 days a week? First of all, they're going to increase their risk of injury like that. Second of all, they're going to lose momentum. They're going to have a hard time staying consistent with that. It's something new, so we need to go into it. It's a step-by-step process in a slow and methodical way. So for somebody who's just starting out, maybe you're only going to do something 3 days a week or 4 days a week. And then after you're able to maintain that over the course of a few weeks, you're going to add a day, and then you're going to add a day. And over the course of 3 months, you're going to be on that track of 6 days a week or 5 days a week, rocking a really healthy routine and keeping it consistent. But if I ask somebody to suddenly do something they haven't been doing at all, more, 5-6 days a week, it's going to be hard because it's going to feel like this total restructure and restriction and change in their lifestyle that pushes them pretty far out of the comfort zone to a point where it's really easy to fall back into bad habits. So consistency is key, but you also need to set yourself up for success. So I would say if you're just starting, try to tackle that issue, whether it's like exercise. Okay, that's a perfect example of somebody. A lot of my clients, I teach 2 nights a week right now, small group classes. I'm actually bumping up to 4 nights a week here shortly, and I have clients that'll say, okay, I want to start 2 days a week, right? I'm going to go all in, and then it's too much for them. So what I love is when a client comes to me and says, I haven't really been doing anything, so they start with me 1 day a week. And then after a couple of months, they feel comfortable and confident and they know they can handle it, and they go up to that 2 days a week mark. Okay, 2 days a week, they're coming to class. What are they doing the other days of the week? Something has to be happening there, because we've talked about this before. There's 7 days in a week. So if only 2 of them they are exercising, what is happening those other 5 days? It's not enough to offset. It's enough to promote some pretty cool change within the body and improve healthy heart, and do some, bone density and build some muscle. I mean, you can do a lot in 2 days for sure with strength training, but you're going to need to be doing something those other 5 days of the week or 4 days of the week or 3 days of the week, because you need 5 days out of that week to be having something pretty consistently happening. So consistency is key. Ask yourself, am I doing this frequently enough to make a difference so that my body says, this is now a habit, this is something that we are doing a lot, not just once in a while, right? What about number 2? This is a common one, especially for my clients that come to me for fitness training and just fitness training, is they are exercising. And that's great. They've added exercise to their plan and they're moving more or they're moving differently, but they're eating the same. So I tell people this all the time. It's a funny little saying, but it's super true. You cannot outrun your fork. You cannot. It doesn't happen. I have tried it myself. I'm like, oh, sure you can. Like, I'm a super fitness person and I work out really, really hard, and I work out 5 or 6 days a week. So I am going to partake all summer long, and I am going to be the exception to the rule. I'm not going to be affected. I'm not going to gain fat and lose muscle. None of those things are going to happen to me. It happens. It happens every time I try to test the theory, guys. Every time. You cannot outrun your fork. You just can't do it. I mean, I wish you could sometimes, believe me, but it just doesn't happen. So the reality is, if you are moving more and exercising, you're in your target zone and all that stuff is great, but your diet is in the toilet, it's not going to matter. It's just not going to matter. You're going to get some pretty great fitness improvements. I mean, and that's awesome. So I don't want to take away from that. When you're improving your heart health and you're adding lean muscle mass to your body, you might fluctuate a little bit, but you're going to be challenged to reach those big goals. You're going to be challenged to get the scale to move and keep moving. And that's just the reality of it. For people that need to improve their diet and need to exercise, and they add one of those things in, they're going to start seeing some change because they're doing something that they haven't been doing before. But what I'm saying is, if you are exercising and you lose a certain amount of inches, or you're gaining muscle mass, and then all of a sudden it stalls, and you go, why isn't the scale moving? This is so frustrating. Like, I'm working out so hard, but your diet's the same. You're going home and you're eating way too many carbs in the evening. You have way too much processed food in your diet, many more calories than your body needs. There's lots of things that can be happening there. Too much sugar is a huge common one that I see, and too much salt, right? Salt is sabotaging. So there's a lot of things that people just assume when I start working out really hard, then I can eat whatever I want. And unfortunately, that's just not true. Now, hopefully, as you're working out more, you're craving healthier foods because that supports your body's ability to perform well and recover well. So hopefully that's happening. I know that happens for me. The more I'm exercising and the harder I'm pushing, especially when I have like a new fitness goal, like when I was training to run a half marathon, for example, my food changed. My food changed for a lot of reasons. I needed different types of calories to support longer distances that I was running and help me optimally recover after those runs. So hopefully you're going to start craving those things naturally. But if you're not, if you're one of those people who's like, but I added exercise, what else? I mean, come on, then diet. Look at diet and be honest with yourself. Are you eating more than your body needs, or are you not eating enough? For most of my female clients, I got to tell you, they're not eating enough. They're just not. And they're waiting too long in between meals to where their metabolism is just crashing on them. It's just crashing because their body is like, hello, when are you going to feed me again? It's going into starvation mode. And when it goes into starvation mode, because it doesn't know when it can predict the food happening again, it's going to start feeding off of muscle and all these things in the body. And the metabolism just plummets. So by the time you eat again, it's like, oh, we just better hold on to this. We can't process it. We can't we're going to hold on to this and stick it somewhere because we don't know when you're going to feed us again. So it's a dangerous cycle. You don't want to burn out your metabolism for sure. Whole other topic. But just keep in mind that if you are exercising but eating the same, the scale at a certain point is going to just get stuck. It's going to get stuck. So it is a marriage. The two of them is a powerhouse. They work together. They really, really do. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being balanced. Okay, balance. You can have your cake. You can eat it too. You just can't do it 7 days a week. That's just how it is. So number 3 kind of goes back to the food thing. You underestimate your calorie intake. So I find this more often with my male clients. I do see it sometimes with my female clients, but here's the sneaky thing. So a lot of times when I first start working with a client in health coaching, I make them track their dietary intakes. And why do I do that? I do that because it's super eye-opening. I had to do it myself when I was in college. My professor made me do it. And at the time I was like, come on, I'm healthy. I already know what I'm eating. I don't need to do this. This is a waste of my time. I don't want to do it. It was super eye-opening for me. And here I thought I was eating so healthy. And it wasn't that I wasn't eating healthy, but I was falling into that trap of waiting too long to eat, eating a lot of the same food groups and avoiding other ones. And some of the stuff was working for me, but some of it wasn't, and having that dietary intake in front of me that really was like a mirror, a reality check, really held me accountable. Now, do I still do that every day? No, because I have a pretty good system in place where I know what my body needs, and it starts barking at me if I'm not giving it what it needs. I can feel the difference in my body. And so I've kind of got that down. But when people are just starting, it's important. It's important that they notice, are their calories too little? Are their calories too high? That happens too. Are their calories coming from 1 or 2 food groups, and then there's others they're just missing completely? Because here's the deal. There's all these food groups that are required in our diet for a reason, because we need them to healthfully function. So if we're flat out avoiding a food group, we're probably doing a disservice to our body and empowering its ability to function healthfully and do what we want it to do day in and day out. So we got to take a look at that. We got to take a look at where are our calories coming from. So, spoiler alert, beverages. Oh, beverages are such a calorie sucker. Such a calorie sucker. I mean, go to Starbucks and get a latte or a macchiato or something, whatever these foo-foo drinks are. I don't even know about this unicorn drink they had not long ago. I'm like, what is this disaster? Some of these drinks are so high in calorie, you might as well have eaten an entire meal or 3 meals. So, it's pretty devastating Excuse me, my throat's dry. When you start looking at your calorie intake and you realize, well, I'm not eating that much, but oh my gosh, when I add up the calories from my beverages today between the Starbucks or the mixed cocktail at happy hour or the soda or smoothie that I grabbed, and you go, oh my gosh, I just ingested like 1,500 calories all in beverages. And it's 9 times out of 10 empty calories. It's not doing anything for us, right? And we still need to eat because we still need nutrients. So boom, all of a sudden we're in a 3,000 calorie deficit day and we haven't really met our body's needs because almost all of it came from these beverages that are just laden in ingredients that do nothing for us. And then we went over our calorie needs for the day because we still needed nutrients. So we ate the 1,500 calories that we actually needed, right? So it's a huge vicious cycle. You got to take a look at those dietary intakes. You got to be honest with yourself, like, hey, am I eating enough? Am I eating what my body needs? Or am I avoiding certain nutritional needs that my body needs as I age, especially, right? Keep that in mind. As we are aging, our nutritional needs change, men and women. They're both different, and we got to support that. And are we just consuming empty calories? Loads of empty calories. And guess what happens with those empty calories? They get stored. They get stored as fat. So am I telling you you can never have the Starbucks? You cannot have the unicorn frappuccino? I mean, I'm not saying you should, I personally have zero desire to do that. If you want to do that, that's your treat. That's your treat for the week, but it's not every day, right? It's your treat once in a while. It's like the cake, right? You're not going to have it 7 days a week, and we really need to limit the amount of those empty calories that just aren't doing anything for us, especially when they're so high, and then we realize, holy cow, I just had all these calories and got no nutrients. And so sometimes, I think too, manufacturers are sneaky. We've gotten really great because of the FDA guidelines. We have, certain nutritional information on those, the nutrient, list on the back of your item, and sometimes on the front as well. But if you think about it, most of the time when you purchase a beverage and you look at the calories, in tiny little print to the side of it, it'll say 2 servings or 4 servings, right? But the calorie amount is based on a single serving. So if it says 150 calories, but this is a 2 serving bottle, you're drinking 300 calories right there. And that's a meal. That's like a small meal or a large snack. I mean, that's, depending on what you're drinking, that could be devastating, right? Because if there's no nutrition in that drink, that's a lot of calories to just ingest for the sake of ingesting it. So number 4, we underestimate exercise. Okay, what do I mean by that? So again, we only exercise 2 days a week, right? And the 2 days a week that we're exercising, we're like, I'm working really hard. I mean, I'm sweating, I'm breathing hard, so I'm pretty sure I'm working hard. And then when it comes down to it, you realize you're not working out in your target zone. And your target zone is a tricky thing because it's different for each individual. It's based on your current fitness ability, and as your fitness ability improves, your target zone will change. And a good way to monitor that, so I can't really tell you, oh, this is what your target zone is, unless you call me and you hire me to do that assessment for you and let you know what those numbers are, because as they say, it is individual. So your target zone, for example, let's say it's 140 beats per minute, right? And you're running and you're like, yeah, I'm totally like breathing hard, blah, blah, blah. You stop, you take your heart rate, and you realize you're at 110 beats per minute. You're not in your target zone. You're just not. So you might be pushing hard, but your fitness has improved. Your cardiorespiratory has improved to the point where you have to push it harder to reach that zone. And the body is built to adapt. So it's a beautiful thing that we're built to adapt, because that means that as much as we can adapt to bad behaviors and have bad health consequences, we can adapt to positive behaviors and have awesome health benefits, right? So it's a twofold thing, but keep in mind that if you're not exercising in your target zone, then you're not going to be promoting that change in the body. You're going to be getting some cardiorespiratory health benefit, you know, maybe building some lean muscle mass, maybe bone density health, different things that you can definitely gain, but you're not going to be necessarily whittling the middle and moving the scale. And those are the things that my clients are usually coming to me for. They're not usually coming to me saying, hey, I just want to improve my overall health. In terms of cardiorespiratory health and bone density. And sometimes they are, but for those of us that are saying, listen, I want a healthier waistline, you've gotta get into that target zone. You've just got to. And there's no way around that. And the nice thing about the target zone is you could do 2 days a week of high intensity interval training where you're really pushing the envelope in those workouts. They're shorter workouts. I have an article, go to my blog and read the article about the benefits of cardiorespiratory versus high intensity, like steady state exercise versus high intensity exercise, and the differences in the benefits. It's a great article, and it'll explain it in more detail than I can go into on this live episode, but it'll definitely promote those changes. And then the other 4 days a week or 3 days a week even, so that you have, like we talked about, the higher percentage of activity happening during the week versus non-activity. Those might be more steady state days. Those might be more cardiorespiratory kind of improvement days where you're like, that's the day I'm going for a bike ride. That's the day I'm going for a walk. That's the day that I'm, doing a light yoga workout, whatever it is. But you've got those couple of days in there where you're hitting that target heart rate, and high intensity interval training is a great way to do that. Again, takes half the time of a traditional workout, and you get a lot of benefit there. For people who are short on time, that's awesome. It's a great option to have. So the target zone, again, something that's hard to get super specific about without knowing your exact numbers. And if you're interested in learning that, I would love to help you with that. So contact me, and that's part of my assessment program. Number 5. So you just aren't moving often enough. Again, this comes back to the consistency, but 7 days in a week, if somebody's with me 2 of those days, I really hope they're doing something the 3 other days of the week. Because if they're not, they're going to be challenged, right? If you are exercising 1 day a week, and you're only exercising maybe 1 other day during the week on your own, and you're not even pushing yourself very hard, you're like, yeah, halfway through my workout, I got bored, I got frustrated, I got sidetracked by laundry, whatever, and you didn't do it, then again, you're going to be challenged. So you got to set yourself up for success. And if you need accountability, then do something that promotes that for you. Like if you join a gym, but you know that that's not enough accountability for you, you're not just going to show up at the gym and do your workouts, then maybe you need to hire a trainer. Make an appointment with the trainer because you know you have to show up. And if you don't show up, you're still paying that trainer, right? That's accountability. Maybe you sign up for a class, a small group fitness class if you're intimidated by larger groups. Great thing about small group fitness is you tend to get more personalized attention than you do in a larger group as well. But, if you are not ready for small group fitness maybe, or you don't have that option in your area, I think it's more and more common for people like myself to be teaching those classes. But if you don't have something like that in your area, look at classes at your gym. Your community center is a great resource as well. And do something, find something that is going to hold you accountable. Like I'm going to sign up for kickboxing. I'm going to sign up for yoga. I'm going to sign up for martial arts. I'm going to sign up for small group fitness training or a TRX training class, whatever it is. And if you're signed up to do something, even just 1 day a week, and then you're adding other things in those other days, that's accountability that's going to give you something you have to do. Now, when I tell my clients often that everything counts when it comes to exercise, and I do mean that. I do mean, like, if you're gardening, oh my gosh, I have been re-landscaping our property, and that totally counts. I mean, let me tell you, I am sore after because I'm ripping things out of the ground, I'm digging giant holes, I'm pushing dirt around. There's a lot of lifting, bending. I mean, I can't tell you how many squats, planks, and sit-ups I've been doing, not on purpose, but just like, those are the positions that you're holding while you're doing all of these things in the gardening. So bicep curls, all these crazy things. So as you're doing different things, think about, how is this adding into my exercise goals, right? Cleaning the house, washing the car, walking the dog, playing with the kids at the park, going for a bike ride, all these different things that you can add into your week, they do count. So when I'm talking about, are you exercising enough? It's easy to add that exercise in there. Don't feel super overwhelmed and challenged by that. I know it's easy to feel overwhelmed, but honestly, break it down, make it manageable. It's like, oh, it's really nice today on my lunch break. I'm going to walk for 15 minutes of it. I mean, that's easy. Add it in, right? Throw some tennis shoes in your car so you don't have the excuse of, oh, I'm not wearing the right shoes to go for a 15-minute walk. And if you're going for a 15-minute walk, you're probably not going to come back like, oh, I'm so sweaty and stinky, I just worked out and I can't take a shower. I mean, you went for a walk, right? It doesn't have to be like a jog or anything. Maybe you get up an extra half hour early in the morning and you do a routine in the morning, jump in the shower and get ready for work, right? Maybe you know that after work you like that decompression, healthy coping to like work out the stress of the day, meet up with friends, that kind of thing. And so maybe after work is your sweet spot where you're gonna like have your gym bag in the car and you're gonna go get your workout done after work. So find a routine that's gonna work for you, because again, consistency is key. And how often are you exercising, right? And we just aren't moving enough. When there's 7 days in a week and we're only moving a couple of them, it's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough to make it happen. So number 6, you do the same routine every day. So I'm a creature of habit, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I love my smoothie in the morning, I love my nuts in the mid-afternoon for a snack, I love my salads. I mean, I have like certain things that are in my life all the time. But my fitness routine changes. Now, I'm not saying it has to be completely different every time you work out, but if you're doing the exact same routine or the very similar routine for 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, usually by 12 weeks, your body's like, I could do this all day. Like, oh, push-ups? Okay, I'm doing like 100 push-ups now. So if you're doing like 100 push-ups, you probably need to change the kind of push-up you're doing. You've maxed out on the push-ups, okay? So if you're doing a push-up challenge, for example, the whole philosophy behind these like squat challenges, push-up challenges, plank challenges, by the way, is that you do them for 30 days. 30 days. So 4 weeks, and then you're going to mix it up and you're going to do a different type of plank or a different type of push-up. It's basically trying to set a foundation for you. It's not saying like, okay, you got triceps, go you're good, you don't ever have to do it again. Like, that's not how it works. So you're going to have to mix up the routine. There's really no way around that. Personally, I think that it keeps you moving forward, not just physically, but mentally, because you get bored, right? The number one thing that I hear from clients is, okay, but is it the same in class all the time? Because if it's the same in class all the time, I'm going to get bored. Oh my gosh, I would get bored too. I don't want to teach the same class every time. Are you kidding me? So you are going to benefit by changing your routine every so many weeks. And I'm going to benefit, right, as the teacher. But for sure, like as an example of myself, after about 8 weeks, I'm kind of doing the same general exercises. I have maybe my resource of like 24 things that I cycle through over this 8-week period. And then I'm like, I can increase my weight load and I can increase my repetitions, but I'm starting to realize this exercise is feeling way too easy for me. So it's time to change it. And I change the angle or I change the style. There's a million ways to do a row, for example, right? So why do I need to do the same style of row all the time? Because my body is going to get super efficient at it, which is a great thing, but then we're going to have to change it up. And then all of a sudden when you give somebody a dumbbell and say, do the row this way, and they go, oh my gosh, why is this so hard? Because we're doing it different. We've challenged the body from a different angle, a different way, and the body's really great, really masterful about manipulating the muscles and fine-tuning them from one direction. I cannot tell you how many people I do an assessment on where I'm like, oh, they could push all day, but their pulling mechanisms are not there. Or they can pull all day, but their pushing mechanisms are not there. And we want to bring balance to the body, right? So ultimately, by changing our routine, we're going to promote healthy balance. We're going to keep the body guessing. We're going to do that muscle confusion we read so much about. And we're going to keep the scale moving if that's our goal, right? Or we're going to support staying where we are if that's our goal. So number 7 is our last thing, and this is a big one, especially for women, and it's so frustrating. And listen, I get it, because I'm a female myself and I've been stuck in this stinking thinking myself. you fixate on the scale. So the scale is one tool, and it's a great tool in some aspects. Like if somebody weighs 300 pounds and they're trying to get down to 200 pounds, well then yeah, weighing yourself periodically is a great tool to hold yourself accountable. I do not like the whole concept of weighing yourself every day. First of all, your weight fluctuates daily, and you're going to weigh less in the morning than you do at night because of how water is distributed in the body. You're eating during the day, you get inflammation, all these different things. But we're going to fluctuate because we have hormones and we're humans and we carry a lot of different things in our body. So if one day I weigh 125 and the next day I weigh 130, and then I'm like being self-critical and doing these stinking thinking and bad dietary habits for the rest of the day because I'm beating myself up over 5 pounds, that's horrible, right? Because that 5 pounds, I probably wouldn't have even noticed it if I hadn't stepped on the scale and saw this number staring at me. So I honestly don't weigh myself often, because I find that it just messes with my head too much. And I tell my clients, like, here's the thing, you're so fixated on the scale, but what about the inches that you lost? Do you have waist definition that wasn't there before? What about the muscle mass that you've gained? You know, I can't tell you how many clients after 4 weeks say, oh, I have this bicep here. I have this bicep that I didn't have before. This is awesome. Or the clients that say, oh, I have this, like, I can see my leg muscles, my quads and my calf muscles. Like, I feel like so much more confident now, body confident, because I have this muscle mass, this lean muscle mass that's showing. And you know, when you have this muscle mass that's now showing in the body, that's replacing fat. And what weighs more, muscle or fat, right? The old joke of what weighs more, a pound of feathers or a pound of bricks. Well, they weigh the same, a pound is a pound, but they sure look different in the body. I mean, muscle mass looks a lot healthier in the body and definitely sexier in the body, right, than fat does. And so when somebody says, well, I weigh exactly the same. Okay, you weigh exactly the same, but is it muscle or is it fat, right? So we have to be mindful of that, because if our inches have lost, our pant sizes may have dropped even. People go, oh, I was wearing a size 10, now I'm wearing a size 8. It's like, well, that's pretty significant, right? I mean, you had to buy a new wardrobe, so hello, you've lost something. But they stand on the scale and go, but I weigh exactly the same. So we got to stop looking at just one indicator. And then I have like other clients I've talked to where they're like, well, my blood pressure went down and my cholesterol is better. And, you know, like I don't have the hypertension issue anymore. And my doctor said I don't have to be on medication, but the scale hasn't moved. It's like, let's celebrate the little wins there, right? Not everything happens overnight. So if it took you a while to get where you are, it's going to take a while to undo some of that damage and get back to a healthier place, right? And I'm not saying that it's impossible and it's going to take years, but it's going to take all of these 7 things. So again, let's review what those 7 things are. Consistency. Are you being consistent? If you're doing something once in a while, it's not enough, right? If you say, oh yeah, I did push-ups like 1 day a week, and you expect to be like the master of all push-ups, I mean, you got to do something more often than 1 day a week. You got to do something more frequently than less. So in other words, there's 7 days in the week, at least 5 of them, we should be rocking something. If we're not rocking it 5 days out of the week, we can't then wonder, why are these awesome things not happening? It's kind of, look at that with anything in your life. If you go to work and you only show up 2 days out of the week, but you expect to be paid for 7, it's a little unrealistic, am I right? So number 2, we're exercising, but we're not changing our dietary habits. So you're like, okay, well, I'm running, but I'm still eating pancakes for breakfast, and I'm still having the giant mocha for lunch, and I'm still eating pizza for dinner. And, you know, it's like if your dietary habits aren't changing, you can't outrun your fork. Exercise still counts. I'm not saying don't do it, but if your ultimate goal is to whittle the middle and get that scale to move for you and get fat loss and muscle gain, then you're going to have to change your dietary habits. Number 3, you underestimate your calorie intakes. So often this happens because, as I said, you can get so many mixed drinks or these fancy beverages at the coffee shops or smoothies that are laden full of sugar, nothing nutritional in them, and some of them are like 500 to 1500 calories, and that's a meal. That is an entire meal. So people are like, I'm not eating that much though, but what are you drinking and where are those calories coming from? We underestimate how much we're intaking during the day when we really break it down. So when you do a quick dietary check on yourself and say, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I probably had like 3,000 calories today, when I add up like the soda and the fancy coffee drink and the little snacking that I was doing here and there that I thought didn't count because it's just a snack, you know. Number 4, we underestimate the amount of exercise that's occurring in our target zone. So we talked about that. It's kind of an extensive thing, right? And again, if you want to know more about that, you can contact me for your own personalized assessment. I'll be able to tell you what your target active heart rate is because it is very individualized. But if you're not working out hard enough, if you're not breathing hard, you know, it's different for each person. And again, it's really hard to say, like, if you're not breathing hard, you're not working hard. It's like, well, as you get more efficient, you may not be breathing as hard as somebody who's just starting. But you do have to hit that target zone, and you have to know what your target zone is, because if you're just going for a leisurely walk, it's good for you, right? Heart health, bone density, mind, body, spirit benefit for sure, but you're probably not doing something to promote fat loss and muscle gain, and whittle the middle as we talk about, right? So you're gonna have to maybe walk briskly or walk in interval paces if you're not a runner, for example, right? And you're walking. And pick an activity where that heart rate's gonna go up and it's gonna come a little bit back down. Challenge the cardiorespiratory, and you're gonna be pushing a little more into that target active heart rate. Number 5, you aren't moving often enough. It goes back to consistency, right? I cannot harp on this enough. 7 days in a week. What are you doing with them, right? What are you doing with those 7 days a week? If it's only happening once in a while, don't expect this magical event to happen. Meaningful transformation does not happen 1 day a week. You can make a lot of progress and a lot of really great improvements. You might sleep better, you might feel better, you might have other great improvements that happen, but you're not going to promote the scale change, which is what this episode is all about. And the number one complaint I get from clients is like, why isn't this happening? But why? Why isn't this happening? I'm doing all these things. Why isn't it happening? Because you have to do it frequently and consistently. Frequency is key. If you've got 7 days in a week and you're doing something 1 or 2 of them, it's not enough. It's not enough to promote what you're looking for, right? Number 6, you do the same routine day in and day out. So for those warriors that are like, okay, I'm doing it. I've been doing it for like 12 weeks, but you're still doing the exact same thing for 12 weeks. And that's when you hit a plateau, right? And that's when you say, I was having this like steady state of weight loss and muscle gain and all these improvements. And all of a sudden I'm just like, brakes, I'm stalled. Why am I stalled? Because you're still doing the exact same thing, but expecting different results, right? Which is kind of ironic. So we need to change what we're doing. And I'm not saying that means like, oh great, now I have to take up running. I don't even like running. Now I have to take up running. It's like, no, you don't have to take up running. But maybe if you've been doing a certain style of push-up, you need to change the type of push-up. Or maybe you need to do a tricep dip and hit those triceps from different angles, right? Think creatively, think outside of the box. Just Google image search squats, for example. There are thousands of types of squats, right? So why do the same squat all the time when you could vary the type of squat you're doing and get more benefit and make those muscles work harder, right? Because they want to work for you. They really do. Number 7, you rely too much on the scale. So again, closing with this, don't get so fixated on the number on the scale. I know that's kind of the intro to this episode is why isn't the scale moving? But again, if you're noticing other positive things are happening, then don't worry so much about the scale, because your health is, the positive health indicators are more than just the number on the scale. It's more than just your BMI, right? I know bodybuilders that are like, my BMI is too high. My doctor said my BMI is too high, because your BMI doesn't take into account muscle mass, honestly, and it doesn't take into account like how much of your body's weight load is muscle versus fat. It just looks at that number. But if we look at what's our weight, what's our waist to hip ratio, what's our cholesterol, where's our blood pressure, right? If we're looking at all of those other indicators, then we can get a nice, well-rounded picture of where our health is sitting and not beat ourselves up for something that's unrealistic. You know, I have told this story before that a couple of years ago, I was working out differently and pushing really hard for a particular event, training differently, and all of a sudden I went down a pant size, and I'm like, why did I go down a pant size? That's really weird, because I'm eating the same. I mean, I'm training different, but I wasn't like training more days of the week or anything like that. And then I weighed myself because I had a doctor's appointment coming up or something random. I don't remember why, but I weighed myself and I weighed 8 pounds more. And I started to freak out because I'm like, oh my gosh, I weighed 8 pounds more. What am I doing wrong? Why is this happening? Oh, I gotta go on a diet instantly, right? Like all the stinking thinking came in. And then I was like, wait a minute. But you just went down a pound size. So clearly something else is going on here, right? Clearly there's some muscle that's coming into the body based on the style of training and the way that we've mixed things up, and you're okay. Your inches are still good. You feel good in your own body. That's the biggest thing, right? You feel good in your own body. And we got to bring it back to that, and we got to like celebrate having a healthy, strong, and able body, because that's important. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter if you're always chasing this elusive like picture in your head of what you're going to look like. It's probably unrealistic, and it's probably not going to happen. You know, you have to, at a certain amount and time in your life, realize this is who you are, this is how you were made, this is who you're going to be, and be the best version of you. So I hope one of those 7 things helped you. And if you're feeling like, I'm so challenged right now, why is the scale not moving? What am I doing wrong? I feel like I made all these healthy changes and I'm overwhelmed by the fact that things aren't happening fast enough, or they were happening and now they're not happening anymore. What am I doing wrong? So revisit those 7 things and ask yourself, be really honest with yourself. Are you doing any of these things, right? Are any of these things standing in your way from you achieving your goals? I would love to talk to you more about it if you need some help or need some guidance. I offer free phone consultations, as you guys know, so just reach out to me, social media or email, give my office a call, and I'd love to sit down and talk to you and get you moving forward. Have a great week, everybody, and I will check in with you next week.